Welcome to the Court of Public Opinion, ladies and gentlemen. Pete's with me, behind the Canon camera. It's hard to imagine, isn't it, that we, in terms of photography, we can actually run something akin to a television station out of a garage. Pete, it's pretty amazing.
It is, oh yes.
With a Canon camera.
Yeah, just a still
Just sitting there.
single lens reflex.
Yeah, I know Canon are not sponsoring us or anything like that. It's just an amazing thing. I marvel in the technology in which we live. I was speaking of technology. Thomas Edison on this day, January 27, 1880, he patents the electric incandescent lamp. Golly, before that there was what? Gaslight, I suppose. And do you know there is a fire station? You can Google this. It's most interesting. There's a fire station. We rang them up. It's an old-fashioned fire station in America. I can't tell you which state it was in, but it has the oldest light bulb in the world still burning. And people still come and look at the light. And they have somebody who's involved in the fire brigade, who, public relations or something, is responsible for talking to people like me from radio stations who ring from all over the world and inquire as to how the light's going. But they never turn it off because they figure that if they turn it off, it won't go back on. But the oldest surviving continuous burning light bulb, now I can't tell you if it goes back to 1880, but it could be around about that time, that sort of thing. It's amazing the things that stick in your mind. A busy day in 1967, which was the day I started on air in radio. 1967, the Beatles sign a 9-year worldwide contract with EMI Records. I would say it considerably more than I was being paid at 2GF Grafton. At the same time, 1967, a fire in the Apollo 1 command module kills astronauts Gus Grissom, Ed White and Roger B. Chaffee, causing the launch. There was a big delay then while they went over the whole program to find out what went wrong. 1967, the treaty was signed banning the military use of nuclear weapons in space. 1967, they don't even mention me starting at 2GF Grafton. I haven't worked at all that many radio stations, so I don't know why I get them confused, but I do. Lewis Carroll, real name Charles Dodgson, English author, poet. He was also a mathematician too. What could he be best known for? Well, Alice in Wonderland, I would think. He was born 1832 on this day, and he died in 1898. Michael Jackson was burned while he was making that Pepsi Cola commercial. That was in 1984. Thomas Crapper, English plumber and inventor, he invented the ball cock. Dies at 73, but he invented the flushing toilet. We could do a whole program, Pete, we could, on inventions. I mean, what do you think is the best invention we've ever had in the world?
For me, air conditioning.
Air conditioning. I think refrigeration.
Yeah.
The flushing toilet ain't bad. But, the internal combustion engine, all sorts of other highfalutin things like amazing cameras and technology and Facebook and God knows what. Anyway, good old Thomas Crapper, who gave his name, well, we won't go there. President Suharto, the Indonesian army officer, second president of Indonesia. He dies at 86. He was president from 67 to 98. 2008 was the year. Tarzan of the Apes, the first Tarzan film, premieres Broadway Theatre this day in 1918. Pete Seeger, the American folk singer. Well, he was Pete Seeger. I remember him mostly for writing Where Did All the Flowers Go? Where Have All the Flowers Gone? Which I think was the ultimate anti-war protest song. Where have all the flowers gone? Gone to graveyards, every one. But he was part of the Weavers, which was a great folk singing group in the late 50s, early 60s. I think probably the Weavers would have, the best, most memorable song that they did was Goodnight Irene, which wasn't written by Pete Seeger, who was a great writer. Goodnight Irene was written by Huddie Ledbetter. And there's a great story about that. Huddie Ledbetter was in jail for murder. And he wrote that song, and the warden who controlled the jail, it was just not a big time jail, if I can use that expression, but he was in jail for life for murder, and the warden loved the song so much he pardoned him. Now, of course, in those days, I suppose wardens could pardon a prisoner who was on death row. I don't know. But you can look that up too. That's a true story. Huddie Ledbetter, Goodnight Irene, and how he cheated the hangman, or whatever they used to do in those days. Yeah, I love history, and I marvel at the fact that the one thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. J.D. Salinger, American novelist, Catcher in the Rye, dies 91. It was 2010. Cloris Leachman, oh golly, yes, Oscar-winning, Emmy Award-winning actress. The Last Picture Show, the Mary Tyler Moore Show. She was in Phyllis, I remember that. Dies at the age of 94 in 2021. And Cecil Arthur Lewis, the British fighter pilot and writer, he dies at the age of 98 in 1997. If you remember the day, I hope it's a good day, a day of celebration. Did you survive Australia Day? One little thought on Australia Day. I've got a couple actually for today. Australian property owners have been urged to start paying a weekly rent tax to Indigenous groups based on their ancestral claim to the land. Under the pay the rent model proposed by a campaign of the same name, this is all being backed by Senator Lidia Thorpe, by the way. Under the plan, homeowners would voluntarily pay a percentage of their income to a body led by Aboriginal elders, administered without any government oversight or intervention. 1% of weekly wages is the level suggested by Robbie Thorpe, a veteran Aboriginal activist from Melbourne. I wonder if any relation to Lidia Thorpe. Anyway, the mind boggles. When is this rubbish going to stop? We are enormously lucky in Australia. We have an abundance of food, agriculture. Our fisheries are amazing. We have an abundance of every mineral you could think of. Energy, absolutely. Coal, uranium, gas. We are the lucky country. First of all, we have to make sure that we don't export our luck and good fortune. We don't sell ourselves out of everything before anything is exported. It comes to the local market first. This is not complicated, it's not rocket science. It's bleeding obvious. Not hard. It's a very simple principle. We have what we need, what we want. And then we can export the rest. What is wrong with that business model, ladies and gentlemen? Talking about the lucky country, luck can run out, you know, and should never be taken for granted. There must be enough people in Australia with chutzpah who might be interested in forming a new political party, not interested in the left or the right, but simply the nation. A truly national party, which would incorporate the views of left and right. A new party, one that would take the country forward. Now, these are only words I'm using here, but words can kill. Words are powerful. Let me say it again. We are energy rich. Qatar is energy rich in oil. Saudi Arabia is rich in oil. Energy rich means financially independent. Independent of all of the shocks and disturbances that other less lucky countries are so vulnerable to. We are blessed with a lot of these rare earth minerals that the modern age is so keen on. We have people in power who say to us, now this is a dramatic way of saying it, they say, no, yes, we know you're starving, you're hard up. I know you have a lot of money in the bank, but you can't touch it. You can't touch it, you can't use it. You will just have to starve. You see what I'm saying? It's the kind of thing that they're asking us to do, these left-wing fools, and also the conservatives, who are no better, because they don't stand up for common sense. It leads me to believe that if we are going to, and I hope we are, because we can, bulletproof this country and our economy, and we should, while we have the opportunity, and make sure that this generation and the generations to come are able to feed themselves and, better still, prosper. Prosper. We must make up our minds that these minorities, who for some strange reason have a very loud voice, are not allowed to control our country and our media, our minds, our future. And if there's anyone out there who agrees with me, maybe we should get together now, because time is running out. Time is running out, ladies and gentlemen, and we shouldn't let that happen. Time, of course, is the one thing we can't buy. It's a finite, very valuable thing. Have I got time for... Sadly, the number of mass killings in the United States of America has reached 29, and this is only the 27th day of the month. So that is more than one every day since the beginning of the year. By mass killing, I think they define that by saying that 4 people have to be killed before it's a mass killing. Not a good way to start the new year, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, I believe that everyone in the world has a right to protest. It's our inalienable right, you know. Protest. It's part of the joy of living in this great country. But people like the Extinction Rebellion crowd, a strange group of totalitarians and extremists, it's about the world as they see things. It's about Australia as they want it to be. They've yet to demonstrate that their beliefs or their philosophy is better or right Nobody seems to interview them or call them out or get them on the show and have a chat to them. They don't seem to feel that they have to persuade anybody. It's all about disruption. This latest episode with the tour down under here in South Australia, where they sprayed black paint on the Santos building simply because Santos was the sponsor of the bicycle race. I would have thought these sort of lefties would have been right in there with bicycles and lycra and so forth. Anyway, they of course sprayed and disrupted not just the Santos building, but the little businesses that rent the shops underneath the building. Charming. The tenants of the Santos building at ground level I'm talking about. Nevertheless, targets for these mindless fools. I think we should send some of our politicians and people in authority to Singapore to let them see how to run an ordered, safe, sane, beautiful city and state. I know people scream, oh, it's a police state. No, it's not. It's a sane place to live. Prosperous, joyful, welcoming. I've been there. Sure, they maintain law and order and you can't spray graffiti and you can't put chewing gum on the ground. Things that are basically sensible, conducive to good order. There would be those who say, well, I have every right to graffiti this building, but would the majority agree with that? I don't think so. It was a couple of weeks ago that I reported to you that Extinction Rebellion were going to change their tactics. You remember? They were not going to be a nuisance to the general public, they said. They were looking to get public support for their argument. And I thought, great, sensible. And now we've got this nonsense. I want to talk to you on Monday about this attempt that people are making to make dating apps safe. One of the greatest problems in this fantastic world in which we live, of 8 billion people, it's hard to imagine people being lonely when you've got 8 billion people on the planet, overcrowded. But loneliness is a really big thing. And these dating apps, I won't say they're exploitive, they would see themselves as being people supplying a need. And maybe they are to some, the lucky few, I don't know. But to me, if you go and sit on a dating app hoping to find Miss Right or Mr. Right, it's the closest thing I can think of to playing Russian roulette, and yet we have this big-time committee this week talking about ways in which they could make it safer. We'll talk about it next week. Loneliness, dating apps. Have a wonderful weekend, ladies and gentlemen. Believe in yourself. Thank you for viewing the Court of Public Opinion. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera. Have a great time.